Now if you wish, like the dwarves, to hear news of Smaug, you must go back again to the evening when he smashed the door and flew off in a rage, 2 days before. The men of the lake town, Esgaroth, were mostly indoors, for the breeze was from the black east and chill, but a few were walking on the quays and watching, as they were fond of doing, the stars shine out from the smooth patches of the lake as they opened in the sky. From their town, the lonely mountain was mostly screened by the low hills at the far end of the lake, through a gap in which the running river came down from the north. Only its high peak could they see in clear weather, and they looked seldom at it, for it was ominous and drear even in the light of morning. Now it was lost and gone, blotted in the dark. Suddenly it flickered back into view. A brief glow touched it and faded.
"Look,"
said one.
"the lights again. Last night the watchman saw them start and fade from midnight until dawn. Something is happening up there."
"Perhaps the king is under the mountain, is forging gold,"
said another.
"It is long since he went north. It is time the songs began to prove themselves again."
"Which king?"
said another with a grim voice.
"As like as not it is the marauding fire of the dragon, the only king under the mountain
Jonica Plevin, please report to the attendance office. Jonica Plevin.
ever known."
"You're always foreboding gloomy things.
Said the others.
Anything from floods to poisoned fish. Think of something cheerful."
Then, suddenly, a great light appeared in the low place in the hills, and the northern end of the lake turned golden.
"The king beneath the mountain,
They shouted.
His wealth is like the sun.
his silver like a fountain."
His rivers run golden. The river is running gold from the mountain.
They cried, and everywhere windows were opening and feet were hurrying. There was once more a tremendous excitement and enthusiasm, but the grim-voiced fellow ran hot-foot to the master.
"The dragon is coming, or I am a fool."
He cried.
"Cut the bridges, to arms, to arms."
Then warning trumpets were suddenly sounded and echoed along the rocky shores. The cheering stopped, and the joy was turned to dread. So it was that the dragon did not find them quite unprepared. Before long, so great was his speed, they could see him as a spark of fire rushing toward them and growing ever huger and more bright. And not the most foolish doubted that the prophecies had gone rather wrong. Still they had a little time. Every vessel in the town was filled with water. Every warrior was armed. Every arrow and dart was ready. And the bridge to the land was thrown down and destroyed before the roar of the storm's terrible approach grew loud, and the lake rippled red as fire beneath the awful beating of his wings. Amid shrieks and wailing and the shouts of men, he came over them, swept towards the bridge, and was foiled. The bridge was gone, and his enemies were on an island in deep water, too deep and dark and cool for his liking. If he plunged into it, a vapor and a steam would arise enough to cover all the land with a mist for days. If the lake was mightier than he, it would quench him before he could pass through. Roaring, he swept through, he set back over the town. Roaring. Roaring.
Zach, friend, please report to the
Again the dark arrows leaped up and snapped and rattled on his scales and jewels, and their shafts felt back, kindled by his breath, burning and hissing into the lake. No fireworks you ever imagined equaled the sights that night. At the twanging of the bows and the shrilling of the trumpets, the dragon's wrath blazed to its height, till he was blind and mad with it. No one had dared to give battle to him for many an age, nor would they have dared now, if it had not been for the grim-voiced man, Bard was his name, who ran to and fro cheering on the archers, urging the master to order them to fight to the last arrow. Fire leaped from the dragon's jaws. He circled for a while, high in the air above the lighting all the lake. The trees by the shores shone like copper and like blood with leaping shadows of dense black at their feet. Then down he swooped straight through the arrow storm, reckless in his rage, taking no heed to turn his scaly sides toward his foes, seeking only to set their town ablaze. Fire leaped from thatched roofs and wooden beam ends as he hurled down
Wilson,
past
please
the ground
report to the attendance office.
though all had been drenched with water before he came. Once more water was flung by 100 hands wherever a spark appeared. Back swirled the dragon. A sweep of his tail, and the roof of the great house crumbled and smashed down. Flames unquenchable sprang high into the night. Another swoop and another house, and then another sprang of fire and fell. And still, no arrow hindered Smaug or hurt him more Already men were jumping into the water on every side. Women and children were being huddled into laden boats in the market pool. Weapons were flung down. There was mourning and weeping, where but a little time ago the old songs of mirth to come had been sung about the dwarves. Now men cursed their names. The master himself was turning to his great gilded boat, hoping to row away in the confusion and save himself. Soon all the lake would be deserted and burned down to the surface of the lake. All the town would be deserted, burned down to the surface of the lake. That was the dragon's hope. They could all get into boats for all he cared. There he could have found school hunting them, or they could stop till they starved. Let them try to get to land, and he would be ready. Soon he would set all the shoreland woods ablaze and wither every field and pasture. Just now he was enjoying the sport of town baiting more than he had enjoyed anything for years. But there was still a company of archers that held their ground among the burning houses. Their captain was Bard, grim-voiced and grim-faced, whose friends had accused him of prophesying floods and poisoned fish, though they knew his worth and courage. He was a descendant in long line of Gurion, Lord of Dale, whose wife and child had escaped down the running river from the ruin long ago. Now he shot with a great yew bow, till all his arrows but one were spent. The flames were near him. His companions were leaving him. He bent his bow for the last time. Suddenly, out of the dark, something fluttered to his shoulder. He started, but it was only an old thrush. Unafraid, it perched by his ear, and it brought him news. Marveling, he found it he could understand its tongue, for he was of the race of Dale.
Wait,
It said to him.
the moon is rising. Look for the hollow of the left breast as he flies and turns above you. And while Bard pauses in wonder to hold him of tidings of the mountain and of all that it have heard.
Then Bard drew the bowstring to his ear. No, I think it's supposed to be in the... The dragon was circling back, flying low, and as he came, the moon rose above the eastern shore and silvered his great wings.
Arrow,
Said the bowman.
Black Arrow, I have saved you to the last. You have never failed me, and always I have recovered you. I had you from my father, and he from of old. If ever you came from the forges of the true king under the mountain, go now and speed well.
The dragon swooped once more, lower than ever, and as he turned and dived down, his belly glittered white with sparkling fires of gems in the moon, but not in one place. The great bow twanged. The black arrow sped straight from the
Wilson,
stern.
please report to the attendant's office. Wilson, to the attendant's office.
Straight from the hollow by the left breast where the foreleg was flung wide. In it smoked and vanished, barb, shaft and feather, so fierce was its flight. With a shriek and deafening men, felled trees and split stones, smaug shot spouting into the air, turned over and crashed down from on high and ruined. Full on the town he fell. His last throws splintered it to sparks and gleams. The lake roared in. A vast steam leaped up, white in the sudden dark under the moon. There was a hiss, a gushing whirl, and then silence. And that was the end of Smaug and Esgaroth, but not of Lord.